There was this little boy, 5 years old. More than anything in the world, he wanted to have a baby brother. So he went in to see his mom and dad. He said, Mom and Dad, what's it take to get a little baby brother? And Dad says, son, all you have to do is pray. Pray every night for a baby brother. God will hear your prayer and then answer your prayer. Little boy was really excited, so he ran to his room and he gets down on his knees and he prays for a baby brother. For the next month, every night, he prayed for a baby brother. At the end of the first month of praying for this baby brother, he went to see his mom and dad. He said, Mom and Dad, did I get that baby brother yet? Dad said, no, son, you have to be patient. Just keep praying, and God will hear your prayers and answer your prayers, and you'll get yourself a little baby brother. Okay. Little boy went back off to his room. Not as excited he was at the beginning of the first month, and that night he prayed for a baby brother. Every night for the second month, he prayed for that baby brother. At the end of the second month, he went to see his mom and dad. He said, Mom and Dad, did I get that baby brother yet? And the dad said, no, son, all you have to do is pray. Little boy said, that's it. No, I'm not going to pray anymore. I have prayed 2 nights, every night for a baby brother. I still don't have a baby brother. Prayer, it doesn't work for me. I'm never going to pray again for a baby brother. It just doesn't work. I'm not going to pray anymore. About 7 months later, the dad went in to see his son. He said, guess what, son? You not only have 1 baby brother, you got 2 baby brothers. Now, aren't you glad you prayed? Little boy said, yes, Dad, but aren't you glad I stopped when I did? You know, it turns out to be that prayer is the key point of today's gospel reading. The gospel coming out of the 17th verse of John, verses 20 to 26. Now, it is the opening voice that sets the standard of the gospel on the importance of prayer. And sets the standard in our lives and the importance of prayer in our lives. Let's take a look at this very first verse, the 17th chapter of John. And actually, this is the first half of the 20th verse of the 17th chapter of John. It simply says this. Lifting up his eyes to heaven, Jesus prayed. That is powerful. I remember back when I was in the seminary, the instructors used to tell us all the time, men as priests, it is very important to pray. They used to tell us that with prayer, you can face the struggle and overcome the struggle. Without prayer, the struggle will overcome you. They used to tell us that with prayer, you can tackle whatever personal problem comes your way. But without prayer, the personal problem will tackle you. I have known a lot of fellas that were ordained priests and left the priesthood. And I have spoken to a lot of guys who left the priesthood. And in every conversation I've had with a man who was ordained a priest and left the priesthood, I invariably always ask the question. And I ask the question, what went wrong? All that study, all that work, all that effort, all that commitment, all those vows, and what went wrong? And universally, the answer I get is nearly always the same. Most men will tell me, left the priesthood, the moment I stopped praying, there was a crack in my priesthood. And then that crack crumbled. You see, that's true in life. Not only in the priesthood, but that's true in the life of every one of us. Prayer is our saving rope. Prayer is our sense of communication with God. And when you pray, you feel connected to God. And when you're going through some type of struggle, a difficulty, or trial, or turmoil, if you are connected with God, you'll say to yourself, I just might be able to get through this. You can be a husband or wife, a father, mother, a son or daughter. You might be lonely. You might be abandoned. You might be depressed. You might be dealing with alcohol. You might be a closet alcoholic. You might be dealing with drugs, or you might be dealing with drugs in a way that no one really knows you're a functioning drug addict. But you say to yourself, how do I keep my head above water? And it is through prayer. And even if you have a prayer life with God, you might feel yourself bobbing in the water, but your head will still be able to come up out of the water if you are connected with God. Here's your life jacket, your life preserver. Prayer is essential. In prayer, I tell God what's going on in my life, and I wait to see what his answer is on what I should do. Prayer is very, very important. Prayer gives me the ability to realize that no matter what's going on, if I'm connected with God, if we have a conversation with each other, I'm talking to God, I'm trying to listen to God talk to me. The struggle and difficulty and problems, oh, they're not going to go away. I'll still have all those, even if I pray. But if I have a prayer life, not every so often, not once in a while, not every other year, but every day, if I have a prayer life, if I stay connected to God, then things just might work out in my life. Now, I want you to take a look at that verse 28, chapter 17 of John. We decided to leave that up for the entire homily because don't you see something unique about that, lifting his eyes up to heaven? Jesus prayed. Jesus prayed. You see, Jesus did not exempt himself from prayer. There are three persons in the Trinity, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Jesus is the second person of the Trinity, the Son. Jesus didn't say to himself, I am Jesus, I am God, and I am man, and as God, I don't have to pray. I already have a prayer life. I'm Jesus. But Jesus didn't exempt himself because Jesus realized what? If I want to stay connected to my Father, then I have to pray. Jesus realized that if my prayer is to be answered, it must first be delivered. Prayer cannot be answered if it's not delivered. You can't sit back and presuppose or assume that God knows my problem, he'll solve it as you're running around. God's saying, look, if you want me to help you, sit there and tell me what's going on. For all of our moms and dads, you might know what I'm talking about. You probably know what I'm talking about. When you see your son or your daughter struggling, what are you hoping that they do? Come to you. Sit down, let's talk. Tell me what's going on. You want me to respond to you in your struggle, but you're not telling me about your struggle. I want to respond properly and accurately, but if you don't share with me what's going on, how can I assume? You can't. Jesus realized that if God is to know my heart, he has to know my thought in prayer. That's why even Jesus prayed. You see, whenever you read the Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, this is true of all four of them. Whenever you read the Gospels, Jesus never tries to perform a miracle. He never ventures into a task, and he never starts a new day without first lifting eyes up to heaven and offering prayer. God, be with me as I try this, what appears to be an insurmountable task. Be with me. Help me. Guide me. Show me the way. Let me know before I do something wrong that I'm about to do something wrong. That only occurs through prayer, communication with God. How many people here tonight, don't raise your hand, but how many people here tonight have a solid prayer life with God? Now, you're at Mass, that's great. But we're talking through the week. Do you start your day off with prayer? As you're driving to work, do you shut off the radio and just spend a little couple moments in prayer to God? God, this is going to be an arduous day. It's a difficult day. I'm going through all these things. And after you're done praying, all those things, they didn't go away. But it's going to allow you to feel that I can now deal with these things because I brought God into my life. He knows what I'm struggling with. He knew before I told him, because not God knows all. But now we're connected. We had a conversation, and now I know that he knows. I don't have to assume that he knows. I don't have to get mad when he doesn't answer. I'll wait, because that baby brother can take a long time. But I'll know he'll come through. That's a powerful line. That's the only line I wanted to show tonight in the gospel reading. There are many other important parts of the gospel reading tonight, but that is absolutely important. Because Jesus, of all people, he prayed. He didn't exempt himself. And I am way, way, way less than Jesus. So if he prayed, then clearly I must as well. If he prayed, you must too. Prayer is essential. Because I really believe this. Again, it's something that they told us all the time in the seminary. It really worked out to be true. Because I've watched priest after priest after priest leave the seminary, leave the priesthood. I watched a guy leave the priesthood 2 days after ordination. It's like walking away from your marriage 2 days after you're married. And you say, how? Well, the answer is because he wasn't ready when he walked down the aisle. I once asked a person one time that the marriage ended in divorce and the separation really quick after they got married. When did you notice it was wrong, that things wouldn't work? And the answer I got from one person is when they were walking down the aisle. They knew that was a mistake. Prayer allows you to be connected. As they told us in the seminary, but it's true for every facet of life, that with prayer, you can face struggle and overcome the struggle. Without prayer, the struggle will overcome you. With prayer, you can tackle any personal problem that comes your way. But without prayer, the personal problem will tackle you. Jesus did not exempt himself from prayer, nor should I or you. Verse 28 of the 17th chapter of John, that's so inspirational. Lifting his eyes up to heaven, Jesus prayed.